How's it going, everyone? We are going to do a special Shooting Straight podcast this week, going over the Payback results. We have a lot to go over, and we're going to find out just who did get Payback. Stay with us.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo! It's the man! What the rock! Oh, cooking at Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Hey, welcome back to the Shooting Straight Wrestling Podcast for 5/17/2015 for the Payback pay-per-view. Are they pay-per-views or
They're still pay-per-views, yeah.
are they
I mean, to guys like us, they're just another thing to watch on the network.
special event?
Yeah. What to do on this Sunday, but
Initially, what are your thoughts about the show?
I thought it was going to be a terrible pay-per-view. I thought they were cramming way too much between the Extreme Rules, King of the Ring, Payback, and then Elimination Chamber coming up. I didn't think they could pull anything that great off.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised.
And and the card was very last month pay-per-view-ish. There wasn't a lot different.
The following is a rematch from...
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't think it would be as fresh or as clean as it was, but yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
They did a good job of keeping everything not the same. Really, it was everything was different. It was adjusted. There were some differences, and outcomes were different. And I was pleasantly surprised. You want to kick right off with the Kickoff Show?
Yeah. Let's get into that.
Start off with an awesome rematch between R-Truth and Stardust.
Yeah, it was kind of an impromptu, not advertised. I just kind of put it on there, but
I'm gonna go on record, and I know we're gonna get a lot of hate mail for this, but I'm gonna go out and say it was in Baltimore. So if R-Truth didn't go over, the riots were gonna happen. I'm just saying it.
Wow.
I'm just saying it. So it was a good thing that R-Truth won the match. That's my personal opinion, but hey, I'm biased. But no, seriously, they've had 3 pretty good matches. One was a King of the Ring qualifier, and it just kind of pretty much sealed the deal for R-Truth to kind of get revenge from the Spiders incident the week before or whatever. But
and it was a solid match. You usually don't expect too much from those kickoff show matches. I enjoyed it.
It was very entertaining, and I think that, like you said, to kind of fill in some matches or fill in some time and to give these guys a shot, they did a good job.
Yeah, WWE is doing a lot more wrestling more than they had in the past. You've seen a lot more matches, solid matches, not as much entertainment as they once were. I mean, you still got that. Yeah, your circus aspect of it,
and you're going to have the interviews constantly. But I mean, that take up a segment of a match. But I mean, it's you're right. It's exactly that.
We had talked about it earlier. Where I was watching some old Attitude Era stuff, and I mean, you watch some Monday Night Raws in the Attitude Era, and I know everyone's in love with the Attitude Era, but I think a lot of it's nostalgia. They don't remember exactly when you go watch back. A lot of that doesn't hold up. I watched the episode of Raw. It was the Val Venus choppy pee-pee episode, and you'd get that infamous episode that was great, but you'd get a 2-minute match and all this all this gimmick stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like I told you, I watched mainly WCW at that point. I was more interested in what they were doing in the Cruiserweight division. They had actual matches, and I just couldn't get into the Attitude Era. And now, like I told you, I've started watching a lot of it back. And I'm thinking the same thing that you're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, and I think...
It's that Vince Russo style of writing, too. I remember him saying one of his goals was to have an entire wrestling show without any wrestling on it. And
Vince was down for that.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, that is, because he wants to eliminate any type of wrestling or the word wrestling or anything wrestling from his product, which is wrestling, but... Yeah. Anyhow.
Okay, yeah.
Speaking of
sidetrack there.
Speaking of gimmicks and whatnot, Axelmania teamed up with Macho Man Dow to take on the Ascension.
Watch out now.
Destroying property.
Yeah. I think it's the worst thing in the. I think they had Damian Sandow. I think they had him primed up for a solo run, and then just to throw him in a He doesn't even do a good Macho Man.
Yeah, and
that's the thing. Like,
I don't know if they're just trying to really hype on the coattails of the Macho Man induction to the Hall of Fame this year, and just kind of ride out whatever they can.
And it was with Curtis Axel. It was funny because he was doing the gimmick, but not full-fledged. Like there was hints of the gimmick in there. But now, like, he's even shaved his mustache and
comes out with the Hollywood Hogan red and yellow tights on.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of.
It was one of those types of things where are the Ascension finally going to win a match, or are we going to see this new team? You know, we're going to be kind of put through this new team, and it was somewhat entertaining. But I feel the same way as you. Ascension picked up the victory.
Yeah, I mean, so it shows what they're thinking of the Mega Powers or whatever you want to call them. I don't think we'll see too much more of the Mega Powers after.
I hope they kind of let them kind of run their own.
Yeah, I think it really put water on the fire that was Damien Sandow. He could have had a pretty good mid-card run, upper mid-card run.
I don't understand how he went and he talked about how his life was more than just creating all these silly gimmicks, and then he goes.
And then, even with those gimmicks, it was a heel-like type thing. He was mocking. And now this was like, I'm just imitating Macho Man.
It was instead of Black Machismo, Jay Lethal, it was White Machismo.
And you see how much he's had to do to get out of that Black Machismo like mold. Yeah,
because it just followed him forever.
Yeah.
But, Ascension picked up the win, so we'll see what happens with them. They cut to the live show. Starts with Dolph Ziggler versus Sheamus. Their, third rematch?
Yeah.
So this one, Sheamus picks up the victory with the Brogue Kick, and I wrote that it was a great match because I thought that it was. It was. During the match, Ziggler got busted open. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Did you see the stitches that?
I seen the picture. Yeah. I really didn't, because sometimes you don't know if these are works or if they're actual accidents, because WWE is so anti anything real. Sometimes, so I wasn't sure if it was real, and then when I saw that gash, I was like, "Holy cow!" But he loves it. Dolph Ziggler totally went with it and was like, "Hey,
Yeah, this is one of the matches I wasn't too pumped. And I'm actually, when Sheamus came back, we got some fresh matchups. I'm sick of, like, anytime I hear Sheamus, Dolph Ziggler, like, it's always the same 4 or 5 matches that, we've been getting for the last 2 to 3 years, And
I think that with the influx of the new NXT guys that are going to start popping up, we'll start breaking away from that pretty soon, and we'll get into that when we do the Raw review, but our next show. But for now, I thought it was a good match for what it was. Yeah. I think that it killed the rivalry, I hope, for now.
Yeah.
So... backstage, then you have Seth trying to reason with Kane about making sure he walks out the champ. Kane just laughs it off, and then that's that. Then they had the tag team title, 2 out of 3 falls. New Day versus Tyson and Cesaro.
I thought it was the best match on the card.
Absolutely, and I think that we said this a while back. We said that collectively the New Day wrestlers are great individual wrestlers. And we weren't too sold on this whole gimmick of the New Day or whatever, but collectively...
And I'm loving Elijah out there. Elijah Wood? Yeah,
Xavier.
Elijah Burke. I'm thinking, I love Woods on the outside as this cheerleader, slimy, will do anything to get the win.
He's got that PhD, so he's got the brain. And I like him. I like him now, and not so much because... of the gimmick or whatever. Yeah. I think that because they are great wrestlers, it's finally started to fine-tune.
And they're clicking.
Exactly.
They're figuring it out.
Exactly, and they're taking the heat, and they're really running with it. And I think that...
Did you hear, at one point, Woods scream, "Freebirds rules"? Like he wanted to get in there and do the... No. At one point, he's... I know
Booker T keeps calling it, he keeps hoping that they do the Freebird rule or whatever. I think Book's a big Freebird fan, but... Yeah, I didn't hear that. That's pretty funny. Tyson Kidd says, great tag team.
So innovative.
Yeah,
the moves
that they're doing something new. So to put on a great match, and it basically what it went was Tyson and Cesaro got the first fall, New Day got the second fall, and thanks to an illegal switch by Xavier Woods, he picked up the third fall and retained the match. But it was just an awesome match. And
I like, if they do the Freebird rules or whatever, I think it gives an interesting new look in that tag division and the tag title chase. Gives something different, you know.
And we haven't seen for a while, you know, and a lot of people that are into wrestling now don't really know anything about it, so it's kind of something new.
Do you remember when the Killer Bees would they would come out without their masks on, and they would put the masks on so they could swap back and forth? I always thought that was a great gimmick.
And I loved how Demolition, which was my favorite tag team growing up, they used to always do the switch. And McMahon,
and you would see I love the old school refs, and they would have that look of like, wait a minute, was this guy in here or was he?
It's funny because Axe would clearly be wearing silver and black or whatever, and Smash was clearly wearing white and red. And McMahon couldn't tell them apart. Never tell them apart. The referees could never tell them apart. That was hilarious. But anyways, back to that real quick. What I was talking about them collectively is you got, you know, I think we talked about this, the speed of Kofi, the size and strength of Big E, and the brains, and pretty much the technique of Xavier Woods. 3 different styles, but they're meshing so well. And to put on a match with Tyson and Cesaro, that great. I mean, that was awesome.
I think that whole tag division, and you know, I think everyone has their place, other than the Mega Powers or whatever. I think even the Ascension, they could put, like, you put them in there with the right team, they can get a good match out. I mean, they don't have to be a contender, but they could be winning here and there. And
kind of, they really got to earn their way up. I think they threw them in there and they kind of tried to feed us too much of the Ascension too fast just because of their experience in NXT and what they did there. Wasn't going to happen, and if they do it slowly like they're doing, I think they'll be okay. But I agree, the tag team division's finally starting to get some justice. Then Ryback has an interview in the back, and then they show a Bray Wyatt segment. Pretty good stuff. So Bray Wyatt versus Ryback, were you expecting match of the year?
No, I was expecting brawl of the year, I guess, because you got 2 big guys, and both aren't that technically sound, but both can pull off some big power moves. I was surprised with what happened.
I thought it turned out a lot better than what I was expecting to see. I thought there was some interesting things in the match. I think that one of the things I wrote down was it was silly how the commentators are still surprised at all the fireflies that Wyatt gets when he walks out. It's been, over a year now?
The whole, I don't know, like, I would love to just see a whole revamped commentary team. I think they're the worst. JBL is the worst.
Booker T's he had some insight sometimes, but yeah, JBL just sometimes is just like, oh my goodness.
It almost seems like they would rather get digs in on each other than call the match.
Basically, than actually call what's going on in the match. Good match. Actually turned out to be a good match. And then an injury, not an injury, but it appeared to be an injury to Ryback's ribs. Bray Wyatt took advantage, hit Sister Abigail, and picked up the victory. Much better than I thought it was going to turn out.
And I think that was a good way to go with the victory. Bray Wyatt needed something. I don't think it hurts Ryback at all.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all, because it shows that Bray Wyatt still had to kind of pull out all the stops, cheat, if you will, to pull out the victory. And it still keeps Ryback right up there, in my opinion. So, pretty good match. The next title match was for the U.S. title. It was an I Quit match between John Cena and Rusev.
A lot better than I thought.
Turned out a lot better, too. I was disappointed because I almost called this. I thought actually they were...
I think we talked about it last week where... I think we brought in the Bret Hart, and remember his mom throws in the towel.
The Owen Hart issue.
The thing, it was a great match. Before we get into the ending, great match, back and forth. Love the way they did it.
One of their better matches.
Yeah. I was disappointed with how much it built up, and then just to have Lana like that quickly do it. Like if Rusev would have been in that move maybe another 30 to 40 seconds, it would have been a lot more like believable
than to just grab the rope, pull it on his face.
Yeah.
And, oh my God.
And then I read online that people who do speak Bulgarian, yeah, it was that I guess he was saying I quit. Like the translation was. So
they actually mentioned that the next night on Raw, but I didn't know what the heck he was saying either. And then
I thought that could be some controversy where he wasn't saying I quit, and then she just said he was.
And I kind of thought that that ending that way almost hurt him, because in terms of his character and his gimmick right now, just this big brute, and then all of a sudden he loses.
But you really had to end that feud. I mean, we were 4 or 5 matches into it.
Yeah, and it definitely was time
any
to
kind
end
of controversy would have continued it, and you know.
I mean, I could have lived with seeing Rusev win the belt, but I know it was way too soon for Cena to lose it.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, like you said, controversial to end it, and it definitely created.
And
something.
now with the IC title vacated, why not put Rusev in that chase and maybe throw the IC title on him? I mean,
and it does with the factor of the Lana and Rusev, what's going to happen with them, so it kind of builds into two areas. So
I'm not even looking forward to the Lana face turn. As we saw when we get into the Raw review on the next podcast, as we saw, I think Vince McMahon has some plans for Lana. We'll see if he has her tied up to a chair and brainwashed to get an American accent and those crazy Vince McMahon skits. But yeah, I'm not looking. I think she plays a great heel. I thought she did a great job in her role. I'm not looking forward to see what they
I did
they
too,
do.
and I thought they brought him. They killed it too soon. But then I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Rusev from here on out. But if it's good things, then maybe it was time for Lana to go. We'll just have to wait and see. The next match was the Divas Tag match, the Bellas versus Naomi and Tamina.
Woof is all I gotta say. Like the match that time stood still. What did they went like 20 minutes? So I mean, they went a long time.
It seemed kind of long. I don't know if it was quite that long.
I like the ending. I like the pairing of Naomi and Tamina. I really like this new look. I thought the best thing they could have done for Naomi was get her away from the Usos. Not Tamina but just the Usos in general, because she was basically just their cheerleader
at the time.
Yeah, and get into some stuff with Natty or whatever.
Yeah.
But now she's her own character.
Oh, yeah.
She's solid. I liked it.
I like the heel turn. I like the gimmick. I like them being able to bring Tamina back this way. Naomi picked up the victory over Nikki, and I wrote next to it, "Thank God," because I was kind of hoping that I'm so done with the Bellas right now.
I think it made her look solid too. Made her look like a true contender.
Yeah, and I was kind of hoping that they would. I don't know. I would have rather a Divas title match, but I mean the tag team match brings Tamina in and kind of gets her back into the swing of things. So it does give them momentum, and they want to change the Divas division, which to me is a ladies wrestling division. So hopefully, if it turns into a ladies wrestling division, then I'll be excited.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. Then there was the announcement that the Elimination Chamber, which is the next pay-per-view in 2 weeks, is going to be for the Intercontinental title that's now vacated.
And what I'm hearing is that they're going to start doing these. It's almost like, I don't want to call them pay-per-views, but because they're doing them every 2 weeks now, it's almost like you got your four big, you got your Mania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and Rumble, and then everything in between is going to be like your Clash of Champions, your Saturday night's main event. Like, so you get an Elimination Chamber as kind of like a.
I was going to mention this in news rumors, but for our next show. But they're basically, I think, with the free months that they're doing for the new subscribers, they're just trying to jam pack so much stuff to get people interested.
And that kind of, not to get off topic, but that kind of ticks me off. Man, I've been a paid member for over a year,
too.
and
Since
they're
day
giving,
one.
and how many free months have they given everybody?
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is okay? Well, my buddy was telling me, well, don't I get a free month? I've been a member since so long. Don't we get a month free? I mean, it's only $10, but still, it's just kind of like a slap in the face to us committed members or subscribers. But anyways, back to the event. Neville took on King Barrett, which was probably their fourth match rematch. Neville just wins via countout because King Barrett just doesn't even break the count.
Yeah, it was a weird ending. I think they probably didn't know who to put over or what exactly, because he ends up hitting his finish, but after the fact.
Ends up. Yeah. And then not only that, he tears up his knee. It looks like he hurts it a little bit. And when I watched that, and I started thinking about this, and I hope I don't go too long with this topic, but when I seen him hit, and I seen that he obviously hit it pretty hard, and I'm thinking that's his finish. He's constantly doing that. He's deducting so many years off of his wrestling career.
What is that? The Hardys used to have a thing called, they would call it their bump card, that you're only allowed so many bumps. And once your last bump is clicked on your bump card, then that's when you have to retire. But yeah, I mean, it goes, you're only allowed, your body can only take so much.
Think about it. That's pretty much his whole style, his whole game. And it's flashing, it's awesome. I like it. I like Neville. But I'm thinking now that he's on the main roster, he's going to have to come up with something to slow it down. Look at Daniel Bryan, for one. Yeah. Number two, look at Rob Van Dam. He really limited himself by doing that type of style. Even when he did get the heavyweight championship and messed that up for other reasons, he never went back to that level.
That's and again, not to get off topic, but you look at Daniel Bryan and his announcement that he doesn't know what. You know, a lot of that I think has to do with him pushing himself too hard to come back, but then also his style. He didn't tone down his style hardly at all. I mean, so here you're coming back from this major career-threatening injury, and you still go balls to the wall.
Exactly.
There's got to be, you know, a line that you, okay, you know, this happened.
And I hate to think that with Neville, but when I seen that injury, and I thought, you know, because at first I wasn't sure if it was something or not, and then of course the next night on Raw we'd figure it out. But I just thought, man, this guy is such an interesting difference. So he brings something new and good to the table, but geez, he's just not going to last a whole heck of a lot long, unless he can really kind of do something to adapt and change up to give himself more longevity.
Yeah. You know, speaking of Neville, I was going to ask you. What do you think about maybe putting the IC title on him?
I like it, but I don't like it. And the reason why I don't like it is because what you just said with the issue with Daniel Bryan, how they put the belt on him because they wanted to give it some more credibility and give it to somebody that people could buy into and relate to. And then he got hurt, you know, if Neville, you know, something happens to Neville, then we're just going to end up with what Wade Barrett vacated the title, Daniel Bryan vacated the title, and then we'd have another person vacate the title.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ambrose with that title around him.
Ambrose would be nice. I even thought Ryback maybe would be an interesting Intercontinental champion. I don't think he's held championship gold at all yet in WWE.
No, I don't think so.
So I mean, there's a pretty decent list of contenders.
Yeah, and you want to put on someone who can defend it every week.
Yeah, and that's going to bring that actual credibility to it. So we want to keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The next one was the main event. It was the Fatal 4-Way title, WWE World Heavyweight title match. Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton, Dean Ambrose, and Roman Reigns. And I thought it was a pretty good match for a 4-way.
Yeah. We got some visitors in the studio. Yeah, you guys come on in and grab a chair. Sorry, guys. Yeah, we'll keep rolling.
I thought it was one of the best, if not the best 4-ways I've ever seen.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. No complaints at all. I like the way Kane got involved. You saw some flashes of vintage Shield.
Well, I think that Kane cemented right away that he was going to help out Rollins, and that was interesting because if Kane didn't, he was going to be fired from Director of Operations. So that was good. And then we got to see the Shield reuniting with the triple powerbomb on Randy Orton. I thought that was awesome. And then I also thought it was awesome when Seth Rollins, you know, gave him a hug and then put out the Shield sign, and then they both kind of wiped their smiles off the face real quick, Ambrose and Reigns, and then they
when they went back in the ring, I liked it. It was they did their little fist bump, and then I think they figured out it was going to be either one of them was going to win, and Reigns said something, loser buys beer.
Yeah, that was classic. And I like how, because this is the first time the Shield have ever been the three of them in a match, and I like how at this point Reigns and Ambrose have kind of always remained partners and buddies.
Yeah.
And I think Ambrose even said that it's his best friend. And his mission wasn't that he turned on his best friend. It was just that it's every man for himself, and the title is the prize.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that they finally kind of did that. And then all of us, you know, because WWE's typical booking would have been just like, oh, we hate each other now, you know.
Yeah.
And
and I think it gives emphasis on the title too, that the title is what every athlete's striving to be. So even if you are friends, hey, we both want that number one spot.
And I think it also with Seth having it shows Reigns and Ambrose saying, okay, you know, one of our guys took it, you know, who's to say we can't. So and Randy Orton I thought he was awesome in that match. I think at his level of his expertise and the years that he's put in, I think for the just what he did, he took the fall. I mean, Seth Rollins pinned him with the pedigree to retain the title. So I thought just for him to do that, I thought, man, what Randy Orton has came so far in terms of his maturity.
Yeah.
He was very critical and important in that match. I love how he went for the RKO on Seth. Seth threw him into Kane, and then he hit it on Kane.
Well, he disappeared for a while on that, you know.
After the triple powerbomb.
Yeah, like which is good that they could sell it like that. But I mean, there was a minute that I almost was like, is Kane in this match, not Randy Orton? Yeah.
Right, because Kane was doing so much. But I wanted to say that about Orton. I thought that was awesome because when Orton first came, I thought he was just horrible. He had a horrible attitude, and now when I look at the maturity, I'm just like, this guy is definitely one of the guys.
I think to change him up, they need to do some kind of different gimmick. I mean, just a little something. He needs just a little tweaking to bring him back to that level. Like I always said, I loved him when he was the Legend Killer.
Yeah.
I thought, but now he's a little too old for that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
there's got to be,
himself.
there's got to be something there. But so your rating, what do you give this pay-per-view?
Oh man, I put that it was the best pay-per-view from top to bottom in terms of match quality in 2015 today.
Yeah. So out of 5 stars, what do you give it?
I'd say 4.5.
Yeah, I would say 4. There was a couple little things that, like the
definitely.
Barrett match, I could have went, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't
we're just
help.
nitpicking. Yeah, we're just nitpicking at that point. So that wraps up this payback edition of Shooting Straight Wrestling Podcast. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and leave your comments. And we will see you in a couple days for the Raw Shooting Straight Podcast. Be sure to come back and check us out. We'll see you.